avoided. There's nothing needed. There's no need to avoid uncertainty. What needs to be avoided is filling uncertainty with habit, simply to have something in that moment that feels familiar. You can always go back to familiar suffering, habit, fear, reliving the past, worrying about the future. You can always use those. They're always there. They'll never go away. It's just you having the opportunity to experience what is when those aren't, without scuttling back to them as if they're good friends. We want to talk about what is when those aren't. And we can only do that if you don't keep going back and looking for them when you can't deal with the feeling that comes up when you're in the new, when you're in change, and when you're in uncertainty. There's nothing to be gained by going back to the things that caused you to suffer for so long. You have to let go as well. You're not going to feel comfortable with change. At a minimum, you're excited, but typically you have anxiety because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You don't know where it's going to lead. You don't know if it's going to pay well. Okay, but you know what you got, and if what you got ain't getting the job done, you got to let things shift and change and move with them, flow with them, not go with the flow. You flow by saying, what is right now? And then choosing your reactions to it as a way of creating the reality that you will experience in the moments following it. There's more to say about 2014. There will be upheavals. That will continue. Your world has been a little topsy-turvy. Part of it is because you have the internet and you know what's going on. You know, you got Facebook. You got Facebook friends on the other side of the planet. You Skype with people. You hear their news, the news that you wouldn't normally hear, because, you know, the news only has 35 minutes to give you all the worst things that are happening in your neighborhood. They can't get around to talking about the bad things that are happening over in Europe. They got too many bad things to tell you about what's going on in your neighborhood to get around to those people. So what happens? You end up finding out about more and more and more and more news, more and more and more things that you never ever had the technology to know about, like sunspots and comets and all kinds of stuff. And you can choose to take all of that vast amount of information that you are receiving and process it as though it was all happening to you right in this second. Now, you can argue that we're all one, so it is happening to you right in this second. Great. When you can get to the point where you can have that kind of relationship about being all one, about all of you meaning all of your life, as in the love, and the happiness and the smiles and the good sex and the great food and the wars and the outbreaks of whatever disease and the hurricanes and tornadoes, then you can use that excuse. Oh, but we're all one, so I have to concentrate on all the shitty things that are happening in Europe. Yeah, okay. If you're all one, you also have to know that when something positive happens, which there's a lot more of it than you would ever know about if you were using the news as an example, you got to count that too. Ha, didn't know that, did you? You know why? Because your survival instinct wants you to look at the bad things, right? We don't have to go into it. But that's why. You say, we're all one, so I have to have sympathy and compassion and understanding of the anxiety that's going on in Japan. Okay, you also have to factor in the love. The good thing that a neighbor did for a neighbor. The school kid that finally played their little piano piece the way they wished to be able to play it for the last 5 months. All of that's got to count too. You cannot just pick one headline and say, oh my God. That's not getting the job done. So when, and we say when because there's always something going on, when something goes on, and you fixate on it as though it is the thing that's defining who you are now, we encourage you deeply and strongly to remember to fixate on the things that you would call good as well. If you can't be neutral, then you can't only have one side of duality. Okay? If you're going to be in duality, you get both sides, good and bad. If you instead you can be neutral, we prefer. But until you get a little bit further along in the journey, you may not be able to pull that off. So make sure you factor in the good if you're going to concentrate on the bad. Hi, 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 hi. Whew. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Okay, first off, we have to refuel. How are y'all?
Excellent.
Yeah? Yeah? Here's the answer. Uncertain. Ready? How are you all? Uncertain. It's a sing-along. Because that's the answer, right? I am uncertain. And the thing is when you say, I am uncertain, you have habituated to think that means, and I'm afraid, or and I'm triggered, or and I'm confused, or and I think everything's going to hell in a handbasket, or whatever comes with survival instinct telling you what's going on. But if you say, I am uncertain and in infinite possibilities, I am uncertain and open to the new, I am uncertain and willing to change, I am uncertain and experiencing transformation. Lots of ands. And see how all of those ands are there? But it's really easy to say I am uncertain and scared. See how it stops? I'm uncertain and I'm afraid. Or I'm uncertain and there's lots there. Lots there. And you know, when the visionaries say we want to do this new thing, we're like, oh, apparently that's what we're doing. Because, you know, we're listening to them. So that's what we're doing. Fred's excited because Fred wants to do more with you guys on those levels. They want to start showing you more things. And the way we have to do that is for everybody, and Veronica, of course, to take the place where you just don't know how it's going to work out and find that to be a very good place to start, right? Because what happens is, I don't know how it's going to work out, feels very stop to us, right? I don't know how it's going to work out is like a paralyzed state. Do you understand? I don't know how it's going to work out. How's it going to happen? How am I going to pay for it? How's it going to figure out? Who's going to show up? Who's going to care? All those kinds of feelings feels very stop. There's not, it's like, it's that kind of a feeling. But when you can say, I am uncertain and willing, I am uncertain and open, I am uncertain and confused, it's so different than I'm uncertain and afraid and I have to stop now. Because the paralysis of the survival instinct telling you what to do is just that. It's a stop place. So even if it's, I'm uncertain and confused, I'm uncertain and don't know what to do next, I'm uncertain and whatever, it's better than I'm uncertain and so I have to kind of like stop in some way. There's a stop and then there's a go. And the trouble with the go is if you don't know what comes after I am uncertain, you think you're wrong, you suck, you're broken, you're kidding yourself, you have, you know. But it's not that. It's I'm uncertain and I'm open to infinite possibilities. And you'll have that little voice that says, blah, 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 whatever it says. And you just say, yeah, I hear you, voice. If you have nothing new to offer, you have to shut up. And it's remembering to do all those things when you're triggered that's the work of the light worker at this time. Each of these steps individually probably sounds quite logical and easy and yes, 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 until you get the bill in the mail that you didn't expect, or somebody doesn't call when you hope they call, or whatever, 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 right? It's remembering the steps. So we're just having this image of the skipping stone across the water. Skippity, skip, skip, skip. Skippity, skip, skip, skip. Skippity, skip, skip, skip. Skippity, skip, skip, skip. Yee! Sink. We like the sink part. The skippity skip 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 is fun, but you know it lasts for just a very little short period of time, and the sink part lasts for a real long time. Plus, different stuff happens. Skippity skip 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 is fun because it's like ding ding ding, right? You all like it, but when it sinks, First off, it goes through the time when you can still see light. Then it starts to get down murky, and then a fish swims by, or a 2 or 3, and then it starts to get down where it gets real muddy, and then down into the mud, and digs in deep and sees what's down there. Maybe there's a little crabby or something goes by and says hi. That drop-in part, that's what we want to do with you guys in 2014. We want to do the drop-in part. Not like you've been skipping all along, because you guys have been dropping, but not all the way down into the neato mud times. And you know, in the story of the pond and the skippity skip thing, it's all well and good to imagine that the rock's down there and unhappy in the mud. But the truth of the matter is that the thickness that you can tell of a mud idea, like it goes through the water and it gets into thicker and thicker and thicker, becomes not the density and duality kind of dense, but the kind of richness and surface area and texture of possibilities. We really want possibilities to become choices for you, and we really want to help you have possibilities become choices. That's just not something just that Elohim says. Infinite possibilities becomes infinite probabilities becomes choices. They've said it a lot of times to you. No one's ever said, how? Like, nobody gets at the microphone and says, yo, Elohim, dude, what about that choices thing? When's that happen? You guys are all so quiet sitting in your chairs. Elohim says, anybody got a question? You just sit in your chairs. Grab that mic and say, how does that work? And then you can, like, headbang a little while you're there. Right? Give it a little rock and roll fantasy. God, you guys are stiff. Come on. Okay, so after you had your rock and roll fantasy, and then you've had your down in the mud, and then all of a sudden, choices. It's not exactly how that works, but we thought it'd be a fun path. Infinite possibilities, rock and roll fantasy, mud, choices. Thank you for noticing. So, what were we saying? Oh, we were saying about the mud. So, when you're down in the mud of the moment, there's just so much more. There's so much more. So many more opportunities. So much more interesting things. And you want to know how? How is that you say, I refuse to simply think the thought I was thinking already. You know, it's not like it's been hidden from you all this time. It's always there. You just keep choosing, you know, like let's say there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, the whole alphabet. And you just say K, 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 L, 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 K, 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 L, K, 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 K. Oh my God, I chose O and it felt different. I better go back to K, 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 K. This is not a broken system. This is a misaligned view. Only because you're human. You can't help it. But you can help it, so we're helping you help it. Okay? That's what we're going to do in 2014. We're going to help you help it. And rock and roll fantasy. And mud.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. Okay? It's always fun following Fred. Rock and roll fantasy and mud. If that didn't get some thoughts going in your heads, it should have. Really. You guys need to learn to imagine greater. Naked mud wrestling with rock and roll songs? Or muddy guitar playing? Or muddy ground because it rained so much with guitar playing? Electric guitar playing. Shocking! Oh, come on. You know we couldn't resist that one, right? That was just like a gift. It was a gift. What do we want for y'all in 2014? Tenderness towards self. It's time for tenderness. So when you realize you're triggered and you're making choices about your reactions to your creations, we've said it to you. Be nice to yourself. We have to think of new words because sometimes words run out of energy. Tender. Choose the tender way of talking to yourself. Choose the tender way of evaluating your life. Choose the tender way of interacting with uncertainty. Choose the tender way of interacting with fear. Choose the tender way. The fear is, if we imagine the fear to be unchangeable, of course it's not, but let's just for a second pretend the fear is unchangeable. Throwing yourself against it with your forehead and breaking your cranium in two, or just going, yeah, okay, there it is. There's that fear. If the fear is unchangeable, then your choice of how to interact with it's all you got anyway. The great thing is that the fear is malleable based on how you interact with it. So beating your head against it tends to, create more of that. Being tender with yourself in it tends to create more of that. You offer your fears the tenderness you wish they were giving you. Ha! Try that. Offer your fears the tenderness you wish they were giving you. All these different choices you have, all these different moments you're in, all these different experiences, let tenderness be part of them. And when fears come, as fears do, and triggers show up as they will, let yourself interact with them from a place that says, yeah, it's here, but how I choose to see it is what I give myself. That's the life I give myself, is how I choose to interact with this. That's the life I give myself. You talk about the life that you have and creating your reality. But let's look at it as the life you give yourself. The next moment, the gift of the next moment is born in this moment and how you choose to see it. Give yourself the gift of tenderness as you attend to what is. You've all beautifully managed your energies tonight. The room feels very cohesive. The energy feels very rich, full, present. You're all very well situated energetically to launch into your new year and to offer your emanation to all that you meet, whomever you encounter and wherever you go. Remember, when you choose your reaction to your experiences, you're not just straightening out your problems, but you're contributing to a vibrational change on your planet and offering those that you meet options that they may have never experienced before. Such a huge percentage of the people on your planet don't know there's anything other than victimhood to be had. And when you show up emanating the idea that you're choosing your reaction to your experiences, you offer them a light. It's like a lighthouse, a beacon. You're saying there is another way. So, yeah, it helps you, but boy, it makes a change in this world. And you want to make a difference, you want to have some other option than what you see on the news or read on the internet, that's the way, that's the path, that's the opportunity, that's what you offer. That's it, that's the thing. So go and offer that. Go and give that. Give it to yourself, and it gives it to others. You give it to yourself, and you are a gift to others. In this holiday season, when you traditionally offer gifts to one another, that's the one we recommend. Good night. You're welcome.